Okay, I'm going to show you how to glue your project together today. We're going to imagine that I finished sanding my project, which hardly ever is possible. There's always going to be something on there that could be sanded better, whether it's a blemish from the lumber mill or whether there's any sort of mill marks or chips left over from the drill press. But I was trying to get this done quickly so that I could show you folks how this is going to look. Now, one thing you got to pay particularly close attention to is that everything needs to run in the direction of the grain. This way, if you ever have to come back and do any post-sanding, it's easier to sand all your pieces if they go in the same direction. Also, if you glue things against the grain, it's just not going to look as good. You want your grain to run all in one direction. Now, one thing I like to do is a trial assembly with the grain so that I know the right orientation and so that I know the pieces fit together the way they're supposed to. And so I get that all lined up there. Looks pretty decent. I want to make sure that my slider functions. If my slider doesn't function, I need to do a little bit more machining to get that to fit. Now we're going to glue this together in a couple of steps. That's awesome that they do that in the morning with the intercom. I appreciate that. Anyway, we got to have a couple things with us. We got to have our wood glue. Look how much wood glue's in this bottle. There was 130 kids that used this bottle of wood glue for their candy dispenser, and look, most of it's left. That should tell you that it takes hardly any glue to properly glue your project. The other thing you need is a damp paper towel in case you need to wipe off any excess glue. Now, the thing with glue is you want to use just enough, not too much. So I'm going to start by putting a little on my spacer here. Just a couple of drops. Whoops. I'm going to make a mess while I do that. No worries. I got my damp paper towel. That's why you're supposed to have it around. Slide that out of the way. I want to have my slider in place. I want just enough to coat the edge. So since I just dropped that because I was flustered from the intercom, I need to add just a little more. Just enough to coat the edge, not too much. If you have too much, it's not only going to slide around, but you're going to have some squeeze out. And squeeze out is something you have to go back and clean up. I'm going to press that in place. Make sure it looks good. Kind of hold that right there. And then I'll repeat the process with my second spacer. Just a little bit. Spread it out. Completely coat the surface. But a very light coating. If you have any that goes off to the side, you can take your damp paper towel, wipe that off a little bit, and we'll press that in place. Make sure the orientation looks good. So adjust them a little bit, make sure your slider is going to function. Now what you might want to do at this point is get that to stay. See how it slides around real easy. And then let that set for just a few minutes. So we're going to let that set for just a few minutes. After about 5 or 10 minutes, that will actually set up. Really doesn't cure until overnight, but with a light coating of glue, it does set up quickly and it'll be pretty strong. Now, after about a period of 10 minutes, you're going to want to come back and do the process on the top. So just enough to coat those. Takes hardly any. So you want to completely coat that surface. Don't leave any bare spots. That will create a weak area. Now, a properly glued surface will be stronger than the wood itself. So it's important to make sure that you glue it properly, and then it will stay together the way you intend it to. Now I'll place my top on there. Now at this point, make sure everything lines up good. At this point, you're going to want it to, again, set for 5 to 10 minutes. Don't put your slider in your project right away. If you accidentally had any squeeze out, then your slider's gonna be stuck in there, and then you're gonna have issues with that. Now what you can do in the meantime is you can get some dowel rod, and you can go ahead and make your dowel pins. If you remember, these are 1.5 inches long, and they're gonna go in these holes in the ends. Now, don't glue these in yet, because if you do, you're not going to get your slider back into your candy dispenser. Wait until after your candy dispenser dries, then you can glue one peg in right away, but wait till after everything sets up and put your second peg in there. Now, if you're freaking out that you got glue all over your finger, all you need to do is rub it together. It dries up and falls right off. Make sure you get your paper towel in the trash right away. Let's try and keep this place cleaned up. So hopefully you've had a good experience getting up to this point, trying to get this project finished. If you bring a jar or a jar lid on the last day of school or the last day of class, we'll get that fastened on there for you. Good luck.